Alexander, our correspondent on Capitol Hill there. Paul Dietrich, CEO and CIO at Fairfax Global Markets, joins us from New York to talk about the state of the markets and how we're doing. Paul, good evening to you. How are things looking right now? Is this the kind of market you want to stay fully involved in, fully engaged in? Or are you starting to get nervous like a lot of people and looking for other places to maybe park temporarily?
No, people say that this bull market has been around for a very, very long time, and when are we going to have a recession? But I always tell people that you usually see bubbles in the market when you see a recession. Remember the savings and loan bubble in the 1990s, dot-com bubble 2000, 2007, the mortgage bond bubble. I don't see any bubbles either here in the United States or globally. And then coupled with the global economy expanding. I mean, emerging markets are doing well. Oil is up. China announced it's going to hit its 6.5% growth. I mean, everything seems to be running on all cylinders. Europe is up this morning. The United Kingdom, manufacturing exports were at a 6-year high. Optimism is at a 40-year high. And then you look at the earnings in the United States, and they're really quite spectacular. 2 weeks ago, they were predicting that we would have a 9.7% growth in first quarter earnings. As you mentioned, almost all of the earnings that have been announced so far have exceeded the estimates. This morning, IBIS announced that they've raised that estimate to 11%. So if you look at all the economic indicators and the expansion, all the indicators are expanding. And so if you want to know the direction of the stock market, usually I look at earnings because that's what drives the market.
And it looks like you're sticking with your guns on large caps. You're looking for undervalued large caps. But boy, this is the big of the big. I mean, Verizon, VZ, Apple, Intel, Walmart. What's the common denominator here, Paul? Is it undemanding PEs? Are they decent returns on equity? Are they decent dividend yields? Or what is there's some common juice, some common sweetener among these stocks. What is it?
Well, yeah, first of all, I think large caps are going to dominate for some of the reasons I mentioned, especially on global companies because their exports are increasing, they're expanding, and so large cap stocks are important. A lot of people think that the market's overvalued, but the forward PE right now is at about 17 times earnings, and that's just a little over the average 5-year PE of 15. So we're a little bit overvalued, but not by much. And so what I'm looking for are these large cap stocks that are on sale, large cap stocks that have PEs that are way below the average. You know, you look at Verizon, Apple, Intel, they're in the 12, 13 PE. Walmart's at like 16 PE. They're all under the average. These are companies that have massive free cash flow, huge returns on equity, and their momentum has been good in the markets. And so whenever you can buy a large cap stock that's selling undervalued, it's on sale, and we're in a large cap growth market, I believe, those are the stocks you want to load up on.
Okay, Paul, you're going simply on market mechanics and doing your analysis within the markets. What about the president? What about this President Trump? What about all the geopolitics? What about, being on the precipice of war, like so many are saying in so many hot spots around the world? You seem nonplussed about all this.
Well, if you look at the risk, and there are risks out there, there's Iran, there's North Korea, there's Syria, but those countries, they just don't have an effect on the global economy in any significant form. Even if things happen there, global buying and selling and trade is going to continue. And so although it may have an effect short term on the stock markets because people buy and sell based on news. But from a fundamental long-term perspective, it's just not going to affect the global economies. I mean, look at the last few weeks. We had the standoff in North Korea. We had the bombing of Syria. We had the mother of all bombs dropped in Afghanistan. We had the French elections. And nothing's happened in the markets, which I think says a lot about the underlying stability of the global markets right now.
Yeah, and and their intestinal fortitude, apparently. Paul, great. It's always great catching up with you. Good man. And talk soon. Paul Dietrich, Fairfax Global Markets. Coming up a little bit later.